What's up? Welcome to the confluenceVC podcast. This podcast is meant to give you a personal glimpse into the next era of investors and operators. This week we had on Meagan Loyst, who works as a VC at Lerer Hippeau based in New York. Lerer Hippeau is one of the most active and well-respected early-stage funds in the world, and within her role, Meagan focuses primarily on seed and Series A investments in consumer, digital media, e-commerce, emerging tech, and enterprise software. Meagan recently did some really interesting work around Gen Z trends, and after interviewing 75 other young investors from around the world, she published some of her findings in the link included in this chat's description. In this talk, we discuss Meagan's path into early stage investing, why she decided to spend so much time understanding Gen Z investment preferences, and her main takeaways and companies to watch based on the findings.
Everyone, welcome to our podcast. We have Meagan here as a guest. She's awesome. We've heard amazing things, and we're really just excited to dive into her story, talk the real with her, and get some tidbits of advice from someone who's a killer. Everyone in our community loves her. We do too. And I'll let Clay just take over from here and dive in.
Cool. So first question we have for you, Meagan, is what was your path breaking into venture?
Yeah, so I think obviously everyone has a different approach or path, but for me, I've always been a big believer of learning by doing. And so basically starting in high school, and I'm bringing this way back, so apologies, this is too far, but in high school, I actually interned at Citibank I went to a large public high school on Long Island, and they had this program to just like introduce business to high school students through an internship. And so my first ever job was working at Citi in their technology headquarters, and I just like loved it. I worked in a cubicle, which most people don't love, but I shared it with a friend. It was like a large internship program with like maybe 20 high school students from all over the island. And I got to sit in on board meetings. Like it was like a really unique experience where I kind of caught the business bug pretty early. And from then on, it was like, I was just a big believer in doing internships to learn and get a lot of experience despite my age. My freshman year, I did this program called Girls Who Invest, where you spend four weeks learning investment topics at Penn and Wharton, and then 6 weeks at an internship. So I was at a hedge fund my freshman summer doing consumer and event-driven investing, which I really enjoyed. Got to get my hands dirty in learning about thematic investing. So like I did a whole pitch on organic grocery and the rise of that and independent research. And then I did a growth equity internship during the school year at BC in financial services. Wealth management at JP Morgan, and then General Atlantic in their technology team in both New York and then Palo Alto. So I graduated in 3.5 years, sort of flopped my semesters around there. So needless to say, going through college, like I really wanted to figure out what was going to be the right path for me sort of post-grad, so I can give myself the best head start to figure out what I wanted to do. And so early on, that was growth equity. And so that was where I started. I was at General Atlantic after I graduated from Boston College, and was on their technology team covering 10 to 12 subsectors, everything from education technology to media and entertainment to SMB software and supply chain tech. So like really getting a whole range of experience across a bunch of subsectors, from really like Series B to pre-IPO. And I think the benefit of, I was in a sourcing role. So like my job was essentially to email like 100 CEOs a week. I was talking to 10 to 15 a week on the phone, meeting them at conferences and a bunch of that stuff. Like I was able to just talk to a lot of people, learn a lot in a very short period of time. And also in making that jump from growth equity to venture, take a lot of that subsector knowledge and sort of from all my deep dives, and also those relationships with companies at the growth stage where like they're all these seed stage companies are trying to disrupt these companies in these areas. So being able to sort of take that knowledge and transport it to early stage was super helpful for me. So roundabout way of saying that I've done a lot of different internships, and then, going from growth to VC was the most recent stage for me. And I love Lerer Hippeau so far. So I'm super, super happy to be a part of the team. I joined about 2 months ago.
What would you say made you want to jump to going a little bit earlier from the growth side?
Yeah, I think for me, part of it was um, like in talking to so many entrepreneurs and seeing so many different types of companies from some were pre-revenue, some were again pre-IPO companies like Slack and CrowdStrike. Um, the for me, like the most exciting conversations always happen to be the earlier stage companies where they were like a click or two early for GA, like maybe like 1 or 2 years out, but they were tackling really important problems and just very visionary founders with great ideas, but like we couldn't actually get involved or do anything for a number of years. And I kept finding myself just really wanting to do things now and get involved in the earlier stage side of things. And so, yeah, that was a large part of why I wanted to switch, like just being able to work more closely with founders and be a part of that earlier stage journey and see a little bit more about, what are the additional hats that you wear as a venture investor versus a growth investor, where I think your role is much more defined. In growth versus venture, where you see a lot of different types of things than you might see at the later stage.
Makes sense. One thing, so we've recently been putting a lot of job opportunities into the community,
Yeah.
and talking to different recruiters. And one thing that we noticed was like the huge difference in pay, in terms of salary, at least, because Carrie's another story in returns and that whole gambit.
Yeah.
Between growth and early stage. Not saying that your firm doesn't pay very, very well, but my assumption is that if you stayed at a scaled institution like a GA or one of their competitors, your path to making a lot of money from a salary and bonus perspective up front would have been a lot faster. How'd you swallow that pill?
Yeah, I mean, I think that can be true in some sense. It depends on the firm for sure. I think GA pays more like private equity than VC. So like I think that's definitely right. But I think the difference, like at the end of the day, it's not all about money. It's like the type of experience that you really want to get and the skill set that you want to develop. And for me, that path at GA would have been much more focused on like financial analysis, and like that would have been like my primary skill set that I'm developing over the course of like the next 2 to 3 years, or 4 or 5 years, whatever it may have been, versus my path at Lerer Hippeau in early stage. It's much more diverse. It's like working with more portfolio companies. It's still doing a ton on the sourcing side, and yeah, I think being a part of a really lean team was something that was important to me. So like you're getting looped into things and getting that type of exposure at a pretty young age that you might not see at a later stage firm, which is like much more traditional, and there's a little bit more hierarchy there. But so for me, it absolutely was not about the money. Like there was a lot of different things that kind of came into play for me to say like, okay, this is going to be the right path for me, and this is also where I'm going to be the happiest. And it's crazy. Like, I think quarantine sort of jumbles a bunch of, it just like time is such a concept now, but like, I've only been here for 2 months. It both feels like I've been here forever and I've never been happier. And at the same time, it's like, I can't even believe that that it's been 2 months. Like time just like absolutely flies by when you're having fun. So I hope that's helpful.
No, most definitely. I think we talk about those trade-offs all the time. And something that most people when coming into the space, given that we both interact with startups, they should keep in mind. So thank you for adding that clarity.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So next question we want to dive in a little bit more about some of the work you've been doing. So we'll link your findings in the description below. But you just spent a ton of time researching the investment preferences of Gen Z VCs. First question we had just relating to that was, why'd you ultimately decide to invest so much time into launching this project?
Yeah, so I do have to say there was no like grand plans as to what this would become. I kind of just I've been doing this. I'm super new to Twitter, by the way. Like when I started at Lerer Hippeau, I had like 50 followers, all of whom were from this one class in college where you had to tweet for credit. So like I had zero experience with Twitter, and I've been like, basically since I started, I've been kind of sleep tweeting. I don't know if this makes sense, but like I'll like wake up in the middle of the night with just an idea of like something that I want to put out there on Twitter. And something that I've been seeing a lot, even just, just my 2 months being at Lerer Hippeau, is like anytime there's a company that is focused on Gen Z consumers or Gen Z knowledge workers, I'm oftentimes the target customer here. So like, they'll be like, all right, like I'm able to diligence it from that with that lens. I'm able to send it to my younger sisters and friends that are still in college. Like I'm able to bring a lot to the table being sort of a young investor who just gets it from like a customer standpoint. And I was like, I wonder if there are other investors at other funds that kind of feel the same way and what they're seeing. So that was kind of the premise of it. I was like, I wonder what other, like, who's out there? Like, I haven't met many other young investors at other funds. And similarly, what are they seeing? And so put a tweet out there. It kind of blew up, which, sometimes that happens on Twitter. And then, I basically just put out an open call to action. Like, I didn't know what questions I was necessarily going to ask, but more than anything, wanted to compile just like key trends people are seeing, personal anecdotes, which I think creates, it creates more of a personal aspect to it. And then also just like, what are your favorite companies? And like, how does your personal life sort of merge with your professional life because you are a young Gen Z investor and looking at, companies being built for Gen Z. So that's kind of how it came about. And then I basically did like rapid fire calls with a bunch of people that reached out. So I think I ended up doing 30 in a week with young investors. Like it was like 5 to 9 p.m., just like back-to-back calls, but absolutely loved it. Like met people from all over the world. I met with people in Mumbai, in Stockholm, in Barcelona, and Canada, and Dubai, and like just literally people from all over the world that I never would have met apart from or likely would have never met apart from this tweet that I did. And everyone had such great perspectives on their local geographies from their own funds, whether they were at like a college focused VC or whether they were, at an institutional fund or even doing angel investing. Like, I think everyone had really unique perspectives and are just really, I think a lot of them are now friends, which I think is really cool. Like just seeing the power of Twitter and, what can come out of, again, just like one tweet, like meeting so many great people that you never would have likely crossed paths with.
Yeah. What were some of are there any key results that you like to share? And more importantly, what were the most shocking?
Yeah, I mean, I think what was not surprising was just like the top trend that people are looking at today is the creator economy. My big takeaway from that was just like people are seeing the path to become a creator just become more institutionalized and from a young age. Like Ryan Kaji, the highest earning creator on YouTube, is 9 years old. Like you kind of saw him grow up with that. Charlie and Addison on TikTok, they became like the top creators in just a matter of months. And these are people that, we look up to. Our friends have side projects that sort of become real businesses. Roblox is becoming more prominent. Like I think we're seeing this from a bunch of different angles. And even like one of the investors I spoke to in Hong Kong, like she was mentioning that in China, there was a university that opened up recently that's actually has pathways to like become a creator. Like instead of learning, like, studying finance or studying economics or, English or art, you actually study like to become a podcaster or become like, you're seeing this become, I think, more of a, just really more official pathways to becoming creators. So I would say that was great. The top unexplored trend or opportunity to build for Gen Z was education. I think that was also really interesting. EdTech is an area that I spend a ton of time in. I cover that at General Atlantic and have met with like all the larger stage companies. And I think just having so many investors that are both in college right now or recent grads, they all experienced this firsthand, just like they had to transition to online education and it was oftentimes very messy. And seeing just opportunities to bring companies into the fold through internships or think through cheaper pathways to getting a quality education. Like there was a lot of really interesting proposals from young investors in the article. And then the companies was just fun. It was great to see a lot of Lerer Hippeau portfolio companies in there, which was great. Like, and I think one big trend is like Gen Z, like what it means to be a Gen Z company. It doesn't mean it has to be founded within the last 5 years. Like Apple is like is naturally just like a big company that still caters to Gen Z consumers. but then so is TikTok, and so are newer brands like Parade, for example, which is one of our portfolio companies creating like, sustainable underwear for next Gen Z consumers. And also just mission driven brands. So like that was another question that I asked, was just like, what are some of your favorite mission driven brands? And oftentimes the answers were very similar to just like, what are your favorite companies? Which I think like, Gen Z consumers will continue to spend money where, they sort of believe in the mission and what those companies stand for. So that was a long-winded answer of just what were the results. But as far as what was surprising, this one I'll keep pretty quick. I think the first one was just how many young people are starting funds and actually like running their own funds at, they're like 25 or younger. Like Mo and Amar started, I think it was Adapt Ventures, and they're running 3 global offices. Like Sibo's in New York running a family office, or the VC arm of a family office. Raphael started Front Row in Canada. Like, so, and I feature these in the article, but just like so many young people that are seeing a gap in their local funding ecosystem and deciding to make a change, running their, like raising funds and sort of dealing with that. So that was, I think, the first thing, just like so many incredibly impressive young people doing incredible things. And the second was just also from my initial tweet and the responses that I got, many investors reached out to me and were like, hey, so I do, I focus on enterprise investing, not sure if that's like, that's a fit for what you're looking for, which I thought was just a really interesting response, because I think when people think Gen Z trends and like, they typically think consumer, because that's what people write about. But that's something that I'd like to spend more time in personally, is just Gen Z at the same time. Like, yes, we're all consumers in our own right, but Gen Z is also becoming the next generation of knowledge workers. Mm-hmm. And just as important to sort of spend time on like, like one of the other trends was prosumer and the consumerization of enterprise software. Like Gen Z knowledge workers like are used to tools that have great UI, UX, are very functional, integrate with their organizations, et cetera. And so I think that's an area where I'd like to spend more time in, is just Gen Z tools for the next generation of knowledge workers. So it was just interesting to say that like people were just like, hey, I know you're doing this Gen Z article. I focus on B2B. Is that a fit? And like the answer is absolutely yes. And I hope we see more of that in the coming months.
Got it. Is there anything that you want to speak on that may be coming next, like pretty quickly?
I'm not sure right now. I think, like, again, this was something that was very, very just opportune. Like it was just a thought and it became a tweet and then an article. I think the other, like, no immediate plans, but as a part of this, like I've met 70 plus amazing young investors at other funds or in college or angel investors. And so a bunch of people have reached out to sort of collaborate on different articles on Gen Z trends or otherwise. So nothing immediate, but later this year, I would expect something to be put together with a few of my new friends, which would be fun.
Nice. Yo, Clay, you want to kick off the quick questions?
Yeah. So have this piece at the end of these podcast features where we just ask quick questions meant to be answered in a sentence or two or less, ideally. So first one we have is, what is a recommendation you hear regularly that you think is bad advice?
I think it's just that you need to do like investment banking to get into VC or just the buy side generally. It's fundamentally not true. Like you can work at a startup, you can put together your own portfolio, not even just through like real investing, through just like tracking startups and stuff like that. Like there's so many ways to get into venture. And like I didn't do investment banking, even though many, many people told me to. And I think if anything, it jump-started my career versus doing the traditional thing.
Yeah.
All three of us share that experience.
Yeah. I'm forever grateful that I did not go down the IC.
Same.
Okay, so next question we have is, in the last year, what new belief, behavior, or habit has most improved your life?
Oh, this is a fun one. I think especially in starting a new role, you can get really wrapped up in like just trying to make sure that you're doing everything right and filling your calendar. For me, I take breaks during the day to play the piano or play the ukulele. I love I love music. And so it's like just a nice way to just like step away from the computer for a little bit and avoid the Zoom fatigue by just taking some time to be creative, which is always fun.
That's awesome. When did you learn to play the ukulele?
I asked for it for Christmas one year. Like this is probably 2 or 3 years ago. I was like, Mom and Dad, I want to learn the ukulele. And I played the piano my whole life growing up. I just play by ear songs that I like hearing on the radio, and ukulele seemed pretty simple, just like 4 strings. You can find a lot of like tutorials online to learn. And it's fun. My favorite song is Here Comes the Sun by the Beatles to play.
If you want to play, we'll totally let you, go straight through these next questions, or you can sing your answers. But
no, for the record, singing definitely not on my list of qualifications here. But I can play instruments, but no singing.
if you choose to, we will totally Venmo you $20 each.
Okay.
But your choice. If not, say next question.
I would say next question.
Okay.
Aside from having to say no all the time, what is the worst part about venture?
I don't know if there is like a worst part. Like I think it's rare to like fundamentally love your job so much, and I count my blessings every day. But I would say just a hard thing that I'm wrapping my head around, especially coming from growth equity, is just making decisions with such little data. I think like at GA, we would spend so much time diving into the unit economics and just having such like conviction around just like data-driven decision-making. And I think there's different ways to approach that at Seed, but I think that's been tough for me to just wrap my head around like, okay, like here's what we have and we have to make a decision pretty soon as to like whether we're going to invest or not. And it's not necessarily like revenue or traction always. It's different types of qualifiers, which I'm wrapping my head around.
Yeah, it's like simultaneously with more and more early stage funds, the decision-making process is tightening. So you're having to have more and more conviction in a smaller and smaller window of time. I think that's really good feedback. So next question we have is best piece of advice for junior VCs or those aspiring to break into venture.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just like be creative and come in on day one with like just ways that you can add value. This can be like your first interview, your first email. This could be your first day on the job. I think the same holds true. Like whether it's coming in with ideas on ways you can improve internal processes, or just bringing a young perspective or a domain expertise to the table, or even just like sourcing strategies. Like that was a large part of my value add. Was like my first email with it was Andrea. That was I got my job through a cold email to Lerer Hippeau on the team, and like I met her, and like the following day I made an introduction to a company that was raising that I thought could be a fit for her in the firm. And throughout my hiring process, I did the same, like continually just like send companies, sent ideas, sent articles. And even since starting, like that's been a large, like the Gen Z article and meeting other young investors, like finding ways to like put my name out there and show people that like, I'm able to get in touch with founders, and I can think creatively about different situations and just bring, again, a different perspective to the table sometimes. So I think like creativity it might not be on the job description, but like being creative, being proactive is like one of the best, I think, assets of like any young person that's in VC or looking to get into VC.
100% agree with that. So last question here for the quick question. So is there a mentor or multiple mentors that you'd want to give credit to, give a quick shout out to?
Yeah, I think one is like Seema Hingorani, who's the founder of Girls Who Invest, and just the team there. I did the program five years ago now, and the whole premise is to help young women start careers in asset management without necessarily having to go through investment banking. And I think like I'm definitely a proof point of like how it can happen. And I'm grateful for her for starting the organization and giving me that shot. Like I don't think I would have been at General Atlantic or even Lerer Hippeau now if I didn't go through the program. Like I think it just, again, jump-started my careers in a bunch of ways. So I'm super grateful to her. And then I would say also my whole team now at Lerer Hippeau, like they've all become such great mentors to me, especially Andrea and Caitlin, who Like we kind of do like weekly catch-ups, and they help guide me on a lot of just investment decisions and like honing my filter, all that kind of stuff. And I think it's just really, really great to have female mentors sort of across the industry. So I would say those are a few that I'd like to call out, but I think it's important to have people that you can learn from, and also that you can sort of be helpful to along the way. So I mentor a lot of college age women and people that are looking to get into VC. And I always encourage others to do the same, because I think if anything, giving back is the most important thing that we all do. But yeah, any way it can be helpful, let me know. Also, if you guys want me to like re-record any of my answers, they were trash, like please let me know. Happy to do that.
Seems like they're all fire. We got everything we needed. In terms of being helpful, you already have been, just by like blessing us with your presence. And just share the podcast, share Confluence to whoever you can, and then if you think they're dope people for the podcast, just loop us into it, right? So we can keep getting the best people. You brought. We trust your opinion on people, and yeah, we should just keep doing this for the community.
So nice to like put a face to the name and get to chat with you guys. And yeah, hopefully we'll get to like work together on something sometime soon. And I'll definitely send you any companies that, or people that are interesting. So great to chat with you both. Really enjoyed it.
It was definitely blessings to you. Thank you again.
Yeah, you too. All right. Bye, guys.
We're so thankful to Meagan for coming on this week and answering all our questions. Tyler and I really enjoyed recording with her, and we hope that each of you were able to pick up something valuable from it.
For next steps, if you're an investor and have not already signed up to join, we encourage you to check out our website at www.confluence.vc to submit your info to become a member. If you have any feedback for us, please feel free to reach out directly either to Tyler at gpv.com or myself at clay@bunkercapital.com. Hope to hear from you all soon.